Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah Martha. Hallelujah. Yes, you heard correct. Hallelujah. And today I'm just going to share my testimony how I waited 13 years to get my South African ID. So where do I start? Let me start from the very beginning. By the beginning, the first time I found out that I was in South Africa, or the first time I found out the documents that I had were different to the documents that my friends had, because they were South African. I was grade 6, and my teacher at the time, my English teacher, was teaching us, I think it was table tennis, and she wanted to register us. So I brought my unabridged birth certificate. The unabridged birth certificate, which what it basically looked like was a page with my name, my mom with my name, date of birth, and then like a Home Affairs stamp to say that I was born in South Africa. And I took that because I thought that was my birth certificate. I never checked people's the files. I didn't ever now that I'm a teacher, I knew that it's in your profiles where you get your where teachers put the birth certificate and all the important documents for the child. Anyway, I asked my mom, can I? My mom said, yes, it's fine. She gives me my birth certificate that I thought was my South African birth certificate. And I give it to my teacher. My teacher's like, what is this? I'm like, my birth certificate. She's like, is that a birth certificate? I'm like, it is. This is what my mom gave me, and this is what we got in Home Affairs. But she was like, no, Sarah, this is not a birth certificate. This is not. This is like a page. This is not. Then she took one of my friend's South African birth certificate, and then that was the very first time I saw the difference. And I was like, what? Am I not South African? Like, what is this? And I went back home, and I told my mom, I was like, my friend had a different birth certificate compared to me. My mom explained, like, oh, maybe it's because my parents are not South African, maybe that's why. But I was like, no, but I want the one that she has. Like, why can't I have that one with an ID? And then I started realizing, I don't have an ID number. Like, what is going on? And the following year, my mom left for Angola. But before she left, she applied. She went with me to Home Affairs because I was not having it. I was really not having it. I was like, no, why can't I have that same birth certificate that everyone has? Like, what is this? And then when I went, my mom applied for, she started the case for me to get a proper South African ID. South African birth certificate. And she, at the time, she filled out the forms. I helped her where I could, because my mom couldn't speak English properly. I know that the lady that helped us at Home Affairs was Miss Joshua. She's now not dealing with unabridged anymore, but she's the lady that helped us apply and get everything started, the process. And my mom left the following year. The following year I was grade 7. My mom left after grade 7. After grade 7 my mom left, but the process was still ongoing. And then in grade 9, I got my first unabridged birth certificate, but there were errors on it. My mom's name was spelled wrong, my name was spelled wrong, my surname was spelled wrong. It said my mom was born in Uganda, country of birth Uganda, country of birth is Uganda, and I think the province of birth Uganda, so like small mistakes like that. So I had to reapply for it again because I couldn't obviously apply for my ID. I wasn't even thinking about my ID, to be honest, because I was like 15. I literally just wanted a birth certificate. That's all I wanted. So I applied for that, and then the first time I got it was in grade 9. I was 14. And there were spelling mistakes. I went back and I told them, like, these are the spelling mistakes. Then they did it. So then they reapplied for a new unabridged birth certificate for me. And the following one came out, I think another 2 years. So I still didn't have an ID. I was living with my refugee status at the time. I finished school with my refugee status. And then in 2014, when I matriculated in 2013, and in 2014, I applied at my university with my refugee status. Then in 2015, my refugee status actually expired in 2014. It's the year that it was expiring. So refugee status, for those of you that do not know, is I don't know how to explain the refugee. It's a paper that allows you to legally stay in a country as a refugee. That's basically what it is. It's a page. You take a picture of yourself, says where you were born, and because I didn't have a South African birth certificate, I knew I was born in South Africa, but my parents had to like lie and say she was born in Angola, and because it gets really, really complicated, very, very complicated. And on a side note, like being a refugee is not easy. Like, oh my gosh, the lines you have to wake up early in the morning to make sure that you like when your documents expire, you need to go. Like I remember we went to, there was one in Maitland, there was one in Nyanga, where you had to go and you like reapply for your refugee status, and they give you like 5 or like 2 years, 3 years, depending on what you're doing in the country. So I was a learner, so they'll like extend, say where you, I think they said, I can't remember. I must actually look at, I need to look for all these documents, because I do have it on email. Because the one thing my godmother always told me is keep everything on the record, like keep everything on the record. Anyway, so my refugee status expired in 2014. In that same year, no, in the following year, in 2015, Angolans were declared, they were no longer seen as refugees. So everyone had to change from the refugee status and get a study visa or a working visa. And at the time, it was my second year, I couldn't register because I didn't want to get my Angolan state. I didn't want to get an Angolan passport, because then that would mean that I'm not South African, because I had to choose. I think that's what they explained to me by my lawyer. So Lot was working at the time at Scalabrine. I don't think she works there anymore. She doesn't work there anymore, but she was the advocate that dealt, or the lawyer that dealt with statelessness, unabridged documents for foreign children born in South Africa. Like she was not the head, but she led that. So she would tell me like, okay, don't do this, whatever. So that was the advice she gave me, not to do the transfer from the refugee status to the Angolan passport, because that would lessen my chance to get my South African birth certificate corrected or get it back. So I listened to her, and it's funny because my uncle was like I'm thinking back, like when I was 2015, I said no to that, and the following year my uncle got my brother all got this Angolan passport, and they could work and they could do whatever. But obviously I couldn't get my South African documents sorted out, and I couldn't get my Angolan documents. So I was stateless. I was actually stateless for 2 years. I couldn't work, I couldn't study, and that was so depressing. Like it was the hardest time, not the hardest time, but I think it was the most challenging time for my young adult life. Like no one prepared me for this. I was like, I couldn't work. I remember I had to stop. I got a job at Musica in Waterfront. Guys, I loved that job. Like I worked for like a week, I think, and they kept asking me for my documents, and I kept stalling them like, oh, it's gonna come, and then finally HR was like, no girl, like where's your documents? You can't be working here illegally. And I was like, oh, like my refugee status expired, and I kind of explained to them the whole situation, and they were like, unfortunately you need to leave, we can't employ you. Guys, I remember it was an afternoon, because I just came in the morning. HR called to ask the documents, because now you have to sign contracts, getting your salary and all that stuff, and they were like, Sarah, we need to let you go. I was so sad. Like I went in the Waterfront bathroom and I cried. Like that was my first time that I actually cried for a job. That's so funny. Like I cried. I want to feel like crying right now, but I cried. I was so mad. I was like so angry. I was like, yo, I can't believe I can't work at this place anymore. I really enjoy this place. I went back home. I was living with my godparents at the time, and I told them what happened, and I cried even more then. I was like, yo, like, why is this happening to me? I'm a child of God. Like, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why is it happening to me? Why am I not getting my South African ID? Why can't I do this? Why can't I study? And also in that same year, I couldn't study. So the do things. I enjoyed work, but I have a passion for learning. I enjoy learning. I love being in the learning environment. I always am a lifelong learner, and I truly am. So when they told me I couldn't study as well, or I couldn't register because I didn't have documents, I couldn't register. And I tried explaining to the administration department, a lot. They wrote emails, letters, and they were like, "Homegirl, no, you can't. You need documents." Yeah, I couldn't study. But I think the one thing that I was blessed with was the support of my family and friends, my coaches, my basketball teammates, my basketball club, and also the lectures at the university that I was at. And I explained it in the case, and I think they knew how passionate I was for learning, and the type of student I was. So what I did was that my third year. Wait, guys, sorry, I'm getting my dates wrong. In 2015, they declared Angolans to become, they had to transition from the refugees to having work or visa permits. I finished my second year. Third year, I couldn't do so. I was stateless like middle of 2015 going into 2016. Yeah, those were the 2 years that I was stateless. I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything. So I couldn't do my third year with my third year classmates. But I don't know how God works, but I was able, guys, I'm just like